Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here. Morning Murder Church on a Sunday morning, rather. Glad everyone can make it through. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. Please hit the like, give it a share, all the good things. We've got a little bit more here this morning. We got an hour and a half starting off with a forensic psychologist. Let's do it. Come on in while the water is fine.
I get my hair out of my face while I'm doing this.
I knew I was raped. You weren't nothing but a bunch of stuff.
Therefore, these proceedings are now...
Putting somebody who was raped.
Let's rock.
Good morning, Murder Church. What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I need to fix a few things right now. First and foremost, I need to fix the chat here. Boom. Hopefully it wakes up for us. I was streaming last night through another account and didn't fix this, but hopefully it will jump awake. Patrick sometimes takes a second. We'll give her a minute there. Welcome in, everybody. I'm glad everyone came through hopefully this morning. Looking in the chat here. Almost on time, believe it or not. Now that we have a new time of 10 a.m. I need to get this in here. Had a fun time on Feral Friday. We watched Scary Movie. Hope everyone that joined me had a fun time. And let's see who's in the chat this morning. What beautiful people have come through to see me. Boom! Teresa's coming through. What's up, Teresa? Teresa's always coming through on the wrestling. I really appreciate you always coming through on my wrestling stuff also. All of my stuff. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Simi coming through. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing good. Bassett, Paige in the house. Love to see it. Love to see it. Joe Schmo, morning, dude. Hope you're doing well. Boom, everybody in here. Miss Dina coming through. Good morning, Miss Dina. I'm glad she popped through this morning, too. I love Miss Dina. Always been a G around these parts. But yeah, we are continuing on. We are getting close, but we're still not there. This penalty phase is taking quite a while with Aileen Wuornos. This morning we're starting with forensic psychologist Dr. Jethro Toomer. Toomer, Toomer. I believe that's correct. We got an hour and a half with him starting out, so that's how you do it. We're going to start off with one of those big ones. Let me set up the sound. And we'll get this thing rocking and rolling. I do have a wheel that's, I'll keep reminding everybody, but I have a wheel that's only 2 names off from getting a spin. I also still need to gather the names. I'm going to try to gather the names while this is live, and so we can get 2 t-shirt wheels going. I have 2 of those ready to rock and roll. And then I'm 2 names away from giving away from some goodies. So anybody that would want to donate, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all that stuff, I'll be keeping an eye out on. Or if you come through here, if you become a member, you can join the old book club, which we stream every Tuesday night about 9:15, and we're currently reading Mindhunter, and we would love to have you. But without further ado, let's get in here and keep moving down the road with this trial.
Dr. Toomer, could you state your full name for the record, please?
My name is Jethro W. Toomer.
And what is your occupation, doctor?
I'm a psychologist.
Can you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD degree in psychology. My bachelor's degree is from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. My master's and PhD degrees are from Temple University in Philadelphia. I completed a year's postdoctoral internship at Moss Rehabilitation Center, which is a part of Albert Einstein Hospital in Philadelphia. I'm a diplomate of the American Board of Professional Psychology, which gives me reciprocity to practice in all 50 states. I'm also licensed to practice psychology in the state of Florida.
What is a diplomate in psychology? How does one become that?
A diplomate is the highest standard of achievement in the field of psychology. It requires 7 years of practice in the field after earning the PhD degree, and a series of rigorous examinations.
Are you currently in private practice?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience prior to the current practice?
Interesting, Bassett.
Presently, I'm involved in the practice of clinical and forensic psychology in Miami, Florida. I also have privileges at 2 hospitals where I'm involved in treatment and assessment of adolescents as well as adults. In addition to my private practice, I'm also a tenured full professor at Florida International University in Miami, and I direct the graduate training program in mental health counseling.
You indicated you have some experience in the area of adolescent psychology. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, what that is? Just explain that for us.
A part of my practice involves working with adults as well as adolescents. By virtue of that particular distinction, oftentimes there are differences in terms of diagnosis, in terms
Excuse me,
of...
Dr. Your Honor, we stipulate the doctor's qualifications and his testimony be acceptable as an expert.
Yes, right. If you could just finish in the area of the adolescent psychology, because it may relate to your testimony.
There are just differences in terms of nuances and in terms of rendering a differential diagnosis with regard to adolescent behavior as opposed to adult behavior.
And you've heard Mr. Tanner
Collecting
just
the
stipulate
names
to your
now on these
expertise.
videos,
You
guys.
have testified in courts of law previously, have you
Yes,
not?
I have.
And you've been retained as an
giveaways.
expert witness by the defense, the state, and appointed by the court in criminal cases.
That is correct, yes.
And you've been retained also in civil proceedings, I take it.
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, we would tender Dr. Toomer at this juncture as an expert witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Do you know Aileen Wuornos, the person seated to my right?
Yes, I do.
Have you had the opportunity to evaluate her?
Yes, I did.
Have you reviewed testing regarding Ms. Wuornos?
Yes, I have.
Have you reviewed the testing of Dr. McMahon and Dr. Bordini?
Yes, I have.
Have you reviewed the notes and other materials from Dr. Bernard, Dr. McMahon, Dr. Kropp, and Dr. Bordini?
Yes, I have reviewed documents from all of those doctors.
Conducting an evaluation, did you review other materials, collateral data regarding Ms. Wuornos, her case, and her history?
That is correct.
Did you have an opportunity to look at, and I'll just do a shotgun list to save you time, depositions, transcripts, police reports, investigatory reports, prior school records, prior
Got
records
these laid
regarding-
out here. The first will for the first shirt will be Pokey Mom, Daria, Miss Wildside, Teresa, Bassett Page, Pammy, Simi Sharp, Tiff Knox. Second will for a second shirt will be Teresa, True Crime Butterfly, Holly Berry, Pammy, Wildside, Gabby, Ember Birds, J Money, Chris Stewart, Bassett, and Simi. So a few more people came through on the second one. But either way, we're going to give away 2 T-shirts this morning, and that's awesome.
Ms. Wuornos, witness statements, statements of people who knew her, transcripts of those statements, and prior mental health evaluations.
Yes, I did.
Did you also have an opportunity to review current records regarding Ms. Wuornos?
Yes, I did. I had the opportunity to review all of those documents.
Sort of a big stack.
Yes, large stack.
Are the materials that you reviewed and the interview procedures that you conducted with Ms. Wuornos the kinds of procedures that experts would normally rely upon in rendering an opinion?
That is correct.
And did you yourself conduct testing of Ms. Wuornos?
Yes, I did.
Did you conduct intelligence testing that taps into neuropsychological issues as well as personality testing?
That is correct, yes.
Now, those are the 3 broad areas that psychologists deal with.
Yes.
And you indicated you reviewed the testing from the other experts on those.
Yes, I did.
Two other experts have testified.
Welcome in, Just a Crazy Jen. Hell yeah. Welcome in, Tina. Good morning, guys.
Prior to your taking the stand, and I guess the best way for me to start with you, Doctor, is to ask you, who is Lee Wuornos?
I think the best way to answer that, to respond to that question,
Would have
is
been
that
Good objection.
interesting to know, right?
She's the defendant in this case.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor. Have you formulated any opinions from a mental health perspective regarding Aileen Wuornos?
Yes, I have.
Have you reached a diagnosis of her?
Yes, I have.
In reaching the diagnosis or diagnoses, did you consider her background and history, her makeup, and her testing results?
Yes, I did. All of those factors were considered.
Can you tell us first what your diagnoses of her were, if any?
My diagnosis is that the defendant is suffering the effects of what we call borderline personality disorder.
Were you able to formulate any opinions regarding any cerebral dysfunction issues in Ms. Wuornos' case?
As a result of my testing, I found signs of what we call organicity, which is what you have indicated. Yes.
And did you review testing from Drs. McMahon and Dr. Bordini considering that issue?
Yes, I did.
Talk to us a little bit about what aspects of Ms. Wuornos' history were valuable or relevant or significant to those two diagnoses, and start with the personality issues first, if you can.
I think the issues that were critical with respect to the diagnosis that I have indicated comes about summarily from looking at and categorizing her history from the time of birth up to the present time. What we basically have in terms of her psychosocial history is an existence that, in essence, from the very beginning was characterized by negatives, by adversity.
I'm gonna go fix some coffee.
What
I still got
happens
this in
then
my
is that
head,
you have
and
a
I will be
situation
back.
where individuals
Thanks everyone again for coming in.
function in an environment that is
And, yeah.
characterized by a lack of nurturance,
Got two
by
wills.
a lack of
How about this? How about we start one right before I go get some coffee? How about that? We're going to start a wheel real quick. We're the first wheel so I got the last two videos is what we're spinning the wheel on right now. For anybody that came through, again, those are secret wheels for free t-shirts at publiclybuzz.com. That's the only way to get access to these wheels. The beautiful people that came through on the first video: Pokemon, Daria, Wildside, Teresa, Bassett Page, Pammy, Simi, Tiff Knox. Good luck. I spun it and you couldn't even see it. Wildside! Boom! Wildside picking up a t-shirt. Congratulations. Wildside, awesome. Always coming through. Always a G. Let me get you on here before I forget. Thank you so much. Boom. We'll do another one as well.
support, by a lack of emotionality, which are critical ingredients if an individual is going to.
We could have three if there's
certain
two
mechanisms
donations
that
is all
would
we
be
need to have a
useful
third
in terms
wheel.
of functioning in later life. We all are able to develop.
well,
as
let me know what shirt
individuals,
you
we
want.
all are able to develop in terms of functioning as we do by virtue of the fact that we have had certain experiences. We are able to form certain control mechanisms, impulse control mechanisms. We're able to.
When she comes back in, let her
learn
know.
how to defer
She might have
gratification,
went and done
how
something.
to engage in
I had some
long-range
coffee, guys. I'll be right
planning,
back.
how to use our apperceptive ability, that is to take lessons from the past and use them to project in terms of how we're going to behave in the present and future. All of these kinds of skills that many of us take for granted are skills that we are able to develop by virtue of the fact that we have been fortunate enough to grow up in a nurturing environment, a nurturing household, or in some way our environment has provided certain measures of caring and support for us. When an individual is unable or does not have access to that kind of nurturing, to that kind of emotional support, what you basically do is you set the stage for certain deficits that are by all means going to be manifested. And the deficits are going to be manifested in a variety of areas in terms of the inability to control impulse, poor planning skills, poor secondary thought processes, all of the kinds of control mechanisms that we consider to be acceptable and necessary for functioning in an organized society those mechanisms are not there through no fault of the individual, but by virtue of the fact that the individual, in this case Ms. Wuornos, has not had access to those things that many of us take for granted. So consequently, you get what we call the personality deficits that preclude one's functioning, behaving, or reacting in a normal and appropriate fashion. Those deficits do that. You see, when an individual is a child, it's different in terms of his or her reaction than if that individual is an adult. If we experience adversity as an adult, we can make some distinction between the fact that I am a human being and this is something that happened to me that is negative, and so I can overcome it. But you see, with children and adolescents, when they experience adverse circumstances and situations, they have not yet developed the mechanisms that allow them to separate themselves from their environment. So if their environment is negative, then the interpretation is, then I am negative, or there is something wrong with me, there is something bad about me. And so as a young person, a child, an adolescent, the individual, without some kind of significant and intensive intervention, is unable to overcome those deficits. And those deficits manifest themselves later on in life. And that's the situation that we have with the defendant, Aileen Wuornos. The situation in which she grew up was negative, it was non-supportive, it was non-nurturing. As a result, she was unable to develop any sense of identity, any sense of self-worth, any sense of belief in her own ability and capacity to function. And as a result, those deficits led to her inability to develop certain kinds of coping mechanisms and skills that are necessary to function in society.
Is there a genetic component as well, a biological component?
Yes, the research indicates that there is a genetic or biological component with respect to psychological functioning.
Would that be, would the deficits that Ms. Wuornos has be consistent with that research as far as a genetic component is concerned?
Yes, it would.
What do you know about her biological father?
Her biological father committed suicide at a particular point in his history while he was incarcerated. And I'm not sure of the charges. I believe one of the charges was sexual abuse, and there was another charge that I don't recall.
What about her biological mother? What do we know about her?
Her biological mother died from cirrhosis of the liver that may have been contributed to by alcoholism.
What, from your speaking with Ms. Wuornos and reviewing background materials, what can you tell us about her schooling years?
Her schooling years, based upon what I have indicated earlier in terms of the lack of nurturing, or the lack of a nurturing environment, her schooling years were filled with a certain degree of turmoil. There was truancy, and functioning was average level or below average. And that could be expected given the likelihood of an individual, given that there will not be a likelihood of an individual being successful given trying to function from a negative environment.
Do you recall reports prepared by the school authorities regarding Ms. Wuornos?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Do you recall a report prepared on April 13, 1970? Regarding this, you may not recall the specific report, but do you recall the school authorities indicating that Ms. Wuornos was an individual in need of counseling?
Yes, that is correct.
Do you also recall the school reports indicating that Ms. Wuornos had been put on a mild tranquilizer in order to assist with her behavior?
Yes.
What does that say to a person with experience in adolescent psychology? What does it say to see school reports that indicate that a student needs therapy and that a student needs medication?
What that says and what that communicates and what that reveals is that you have an individual who is not a quote unquote bad individual, but you have an individual who is in need of help. All behavior is purposive. When we engage in certain kind of behavior, we don't do it just because. The behavior is a reaction. And when you find individuals, whether we're talking about Ms. Wuornos or another child or what have you, when you see individuals engaging in that kind of behavior, whether it's truancy or what have you, it is an indication that something is wrong. It is oftentimes a cry for help, and it is a cry for assistance. Something needs to be done, some intervention needs to be engaged in order to address the particular problem.
What aspects of the borderline personality disorder are most significant in Ms. Wuornos' case?
I think there are a couple of aspects of this particular diagnostic category that are most important. I mentioned one a little earlier, and that is the lack of self-concept or self-esteem that comes about as a result of the lack of a nurturing environment. But there are other aspects that come into play. As a result of that, you get an individual who, because of not having a stable sense of self, really does not have the framework in order to shape attitudes, emotions, thoughts, ideas, and what have you. So as a result, planning, as a result, weighing of consequences and the like, that ability is going to be impaired. Also, given that particular orientation, you'll have an individual who basically will constantly seek to ingratiate himself or herself to other individuals in order to try to compensate for the deficits in self-esteem. I am not worthwhile. My history and people around me have said to me, you're not worthwhile. So what I try to do as I grow and develop is I try to ingratiate myself with other individuals. In essence, I'm saying to other people, please like me, please accept me. And as a result, the individual is unable to make appropriate decisions, to respond appropriately, because the individual is in essence functioning and is in essence motivated by his or her deficiencies. So the individual is not able to make independent decisions. As a result, I think it's fairly clear that what happens as part of this is that there is a tremendous amount of anxiety and confusion that comes into play. Because on the one hand, the individual desperately is seeking acceptance, nurturance, closeness, because the individual has never had it. On the other hand, the individual is saying, I'm not really worth the nurturance and the caring that I'm so desperately seeking. And so it creates a basic conflict. It creates a basic edge of tension in terms of how the individual functions. And as a result, there is a tremendous amount of anger. There is a tremendous amount of unresolved emotionality as a result of that conflict. Also, with relation to this particular disorder that we're discussing, is the fact that an individual suffering from this disorder is conditioned to a state of what we call hypervigilance, which means that the person is constantly on alert. Why? Because the person's experiences and contact with other people have said to that particular person, you cannot trust us. People cannot be trusted. The world is not a nice place. The world is not a nurturing place. So as a result, the person has to be constantly on guard because people and the world cannot be trusted. As a result, the individual is going to be very sensitive to anything, any kind of action that would remind her of any kind of past assaults or affronts. And we're talking about feelings with respect to abandonment, feelings with respect to desertion, feelings with respect to betrayal. So any kind of behavior that is suggestive of those past difficulties and abuses will bring about and create basically a break in control, because there is a tremendous amount of underlying anxiety, anger as a result of the deficits, and because of the situation that we have described, whenever anything comes to the fore, whether it be real or not, the individual only has to perceive that there is a threat, that there is something that reminds her of a past abuse or a past betrayal, and the behavior breaks down and is even less under conscious control than under ordinary circumstances.
You indicated that these individuals want approval from others.
That is correct.
In Ms. Wuornos' case, and as I understand it in the cases of other individuals suffering from the borderline personality disorder, their actions are often inconsistent with that desire, are they not?
That's correct. Their actions are inconsistent because of the conflict that we alluded to earlier. On the one hand, the person is desperately in need of affection and caring and concern and closeness. But at the same time, the person is also saying to herself, I don't deserve it, because my history and people that I have known have told me all my life, from as far back as I can remember, that I don't deserve it. And as a result, you get the kind of conflict that I've alluded to. At the same time, what you get are two basic patterns of reaction. On the one hand, when the individual is in the situation and is seeking the nurturance and is seeking the caring and the concern, what happens oftentimes is that if the individual has certain feelings, certain ideas, certain beliefs, they won't express them. Why? Because they are constantly hypervigilant. They are constantly fearful of being abandoned, of being deserted. They are constantly fearful of experiencing some of the same kinds of things that they have experienced earlier. And as a result, when that occurs, and you get the underlying anxiety that we have alluded to earlier, individuals may often, because of that conflict and the break in control, engage in behavior that is self-destructive, or may engage in behavior where they strike out against others.
The name of what such a person is carries the word disorder with it.
Correct.
Is such a person impaired?
Yes, that person is impaired.
Is such a person disturbed?
That is correct, yes.
Is such a person the type of person who gets hospitalized?
That is correct, yes.
Is such a person the type of person who would qualify for disability assistance?
In my opinion, yes, because functioning under ordinary circumstances would be impaired, yes.
As compared to ordinary individuals?
That is correct, yes.
Is such a person the type of person that is often given medication at hospitals?
Yes, medication is a form of treatment, is a part of the treatment regimen in many cases.
As I understand it, in the precursor to the DSM-3R, the DSM-3, and then before that in the DSM-1 and DSM-2, there was no borderline personality disorder territory in the DSMs 1 and 2.
That's correct, yes.
At that time, somebody such as Lee Wuornos would be classified as what? Schizophrenic, schizoid?
Schizoid,
I'm liking this guy, actually, as I've been hearing.
behavior.
Been
There are
learning
a
a lot.
number of categories, yes.
And at such time, would such individuals, again, be hospitalized and receive treatment?
That is correct, yes.
She definitely had a
Such
shitty
as
ass
Lee
life,
Wuornos,
dude.
who mental health practitioners were looking at in the 1930s, for example. Would they recognize that something is wrong with her?
I believe they would recognize that something is wrong, yes.
You also spoke to the issue of organicity.
Yes.
What does that mean?
When we
Damn.
talk about organicity,
Y'all
we're
hating
really
on
talking
our
about
guy
some
here.
type of cerebral
I was upstairs
impairment.
actually, like,
Oftentimes it's referred to as brain damage or what have you, but the idea is that the individual has suffered some type of organic trauma that interferes with or that impairs his or her ability to function in a variety of areas.
Is that consistent with a cortical dysfunction?
I'm sorry, would
Is
you?
that consistent with a cortical dysfunction?
Yes, it's often referred to as that, yes.
It's just the name the professionals use for it.
That's correct, yes.
Does that affect one's ability to conceptualize, to use concepts and reasoning?
That's one of the areas of deficit that you often find in terms of how one processes information. And that area of functioning would be affected by by organicity or some kind of head trauma.
Would there be an interplay between an organic problem and a personality problem, such as a
Definitely.
personality disorder?
Definitely, by all means. You would find impairment, if you look just at organic impairment, you would find certain cognitive processing deficits being manifested. And then if you look at it in relation to the personality disorder, you will find that there would be an exacerbation of the.
there we go. Gabby's trying to get that third wheel going. Thank you, Gabby. $2. Stop by to say you all rock. Hey, Gabby, you were on the second wheel, so you came through and left a comment on the last wrestling video. I got you on the second wheel that we're going to spin today. We just now gave away our first t-shirt to Wildside, so you're on the second one. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And now you've also helped me out. So we're only one away now from finishing the wheel for some more goodies. So thank you so much, Gabby. I appreciate that. Also, I forgot to do the bells. Fuck. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. They're not even working. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's all going to hell. It's all going to hell. Everything was fine until it wasn't.
Give me the loot! Give me the loot! I'm a bastard.
There we go. And let's do the church bells. Lord. All right, yeah. Almost got a... We could have 3 wheels this morning if we have one more donation, whether that's through here, whether you become a member and get some extra content in the book club, or whether that's through the apps, Cash App, PayPal, all the good Venmo. But Gabby, stick around, or at least watch the replay for the possibility of winning on the next wheel that I'll do soon.
Difficulties. Also, by the same token.
There it is. Boom. There we. Now we do have officially 3 wheels to spin. And thank you, Jen, for getting that other one. I appreciate that. Fuck yes. Thank you, Jen. Boom. Nice. Oh fuck, hell yeah. Tina said, let's start a new wheel. Okay, Tina, you're starting a brand new wheel with that $2. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Boom. I'm going to give you a little bit of love also. Hold on. I want to give you the classic, the money one. Give you this one.
Hold up! Hold up! Hold up!
Oh my God. Church bells are ringing. Not those, bro. Those aren't the right bells. That's not the right song. That's about a wedding. Thanks, everyone. Seriously, I appreciate it. We got 3 wheels. 2 more to go. Fun stuff.
You're looking at individuals suffering the effects of a borderline personality disorder, and then superimposed you have additionally organicity or some type of cortical dysfunction.
God.
You're just going to get, in essence, problems and difficulties and impairment in functioning that is even more so than we would consider given just one or the other.
You indicate that the disorder has a connection to the dysfunctional family.
That's correct, yes.
And that the family in this case was dysfunctional.
That is correct.
In what sense?
When we talk about dysfunctional family, what we're talking about is a process wherein the family unit, which is basically the core nurturing unit in our society, is unable to provide the basic kinds of skills, the necessities, both emotional, physical, and otherwise, that an individual needs in order to be able to function appropriately. And
Whoa, Ayana came through the Cash App. She's out there as well. Ayana, I hope you're having a good morning. I bet you're having a better one here. It's, guess what? Started snowing again. I've already told her that it's messed up my weekend plans as well. I said last week that we might even have a show this morning. If everything, I should be in Tennessee right now. Should be leaving a hotel in Tennessee, probably right about now. But no, ruined it all. Luckily, I paid the extra $20 where you could cancel the hotel room basically up until the day of, and I did that because of the snow. I was like, you know what? It could happen. It's going to fuck us up. Ayana, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's a $5 holla all the way in the Cash App. Boom. I love that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Give you a little bit of love as well. Shit.
Give me the loot. Give me the loot. I'm a bad boy.
Love it. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
when that is not done, there are long-standing
There she is.
deficits that individuals
I know.
experience.
I literally
And
can't
those
escape.
deficits impair one's ability
It's been a bad
to
winter,
function in society
Honestly.
as individuals ordinarily would.
Looking for the spring. Give it to me.
Are these deficiencies long-standing in Ms. Wuornos' case?
They definitely are.
Bitty-bitty-bitty.
They are long-standing as borne out in reports from a variety of sources that you've alluded to earlier.
Are these deficiencies that were with her at the time she was with Mr. Mallory?
Oh, by all means, I believe so, yes.
She suffered from these disorders at
That is correct, yes.
I didn't hear that.
Suffered from these disorders at Among the mitigating issues in a capital case is the question of whether, at the time of an offense, an individual's capacity to conform his or her conduct to the requirements of the law was substantially impaired.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that mitigating factor?
Yes, I am.
To a reasonable degree of psychological certainty, were you able to formulate an opinion as to the applicability of that factor to Ms. Wuornos' case?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell us what that opinion is?
My opinion is that she was unable to.
Another mitigating issue in a capital case is whether at the time of the offense, the individual's capacity to appreciate the nature and quality of their conduct was substantially impaired.
Yes, I'm aware of that one also.
And there's another one that
I'm sorry, on this last question,
was substantially impaired.
wasn't that the first?
It's two parts of the first one. It's another aspect.
I apologize, I just didn't hear it. May the court reporter read it back, Your Honor? I apologize.
Shit, Teresa said, let's keep going. That's a $5 holler through the fucking YouTube system here. Oh, Lord.
Son of a bitch!
We're going in. I'm giving you all of them. I'm giving you all of them right now.
Respect my house.
Boom, Teresa, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Damn. You're getting all of them. I haven't hit all these in so long. Teresa, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Man, not even fucking around this morning. We're already building up a brand new wheel here. 3 on the new wheel. Thank you so much.
Okay. Question. Another mitigating issue in a capital case is whether at the time of the offense an individual's capacity to appreciate the nature and
Patrick's
quality of
ever
their
wake up?
conduct
Oh my
was substantially impaired.
Thank you.
And another one relates to whether the individual in a capital offense suffered from an extreme mental or emotional disturbance at the time of the offense.
Yes, I'm aware of that one also.
Were you able to formulate
There it
opinions
is.
as to those factors?
Yes, I was.
Thank you
And
so much.
What were those opinions?
My opinion is that Ms. Wuornos was suffering the effects of the aforementioned borderline personality disorder that we have discussed.
Would those factors be applicable from a mental health perspective in Ms. Wuornos' case?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to go shopping yesterday because, just in case. But I did get a lot of stuff. I got enough stuff for the entire week. So whether it comes or not, we're good to go. But I am sad.
The law also recognizes something called non-statutory mitigating factors. Are you aware of those?
Yes, I am.
Those are factors that are just...
Objection, Your Honor.
Just one at a time.
I will show it.
Ms. Danner?
We'd like to hear the rest of the question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Those are factors that are not specifically listed, but also affect the makeup of the individual.
Yes, that is correct.
And in Ms. Wuornos' case, are there such factors?
I believe there are, yes.
Can you tell us what some of those are?
I believe that some of those factors would include some of the things that we have discussed previously. I think the lack of nurturance in the environment, the attempt to function a dysfunctional family unit, the adversity of situational variables in which she was reared. There is also evidence of drug abuse and the use of toxic substances. I think all of those would be factors that would be addressed under that particular category.
How about her history of alcohol?
Yes, that's when I mentioned drugs, I was considering alcohol in that category.
And her borderline personality disorder and organicity, those also would affect her behavior and who she is.
That is correct.
The impairments from which you're withdrawn. One of the aspects of the impairments that you discussed is sort of an inability to connect with other people.
Yes.
Yet at the same time, this is an individual who is hitchhiking and meeting strangers and surviving that way.
Yes.
How do you square those two things?
I think that when we talk about interpersonal relationships, we're talking about the ability to establish quality relationships with individuals. And that ability was impaired. The fact that she was hitchhiking.
Next T-shirt, Will, is locked in. We will do it shortly.
It's not necessarily an indicator of
Remember, publiclybuzz.com is where you can pick out your shirts, guys.
Interpersonal
Got a lot of really cool shirts on there.
But her history demonstrates an inability over numerous occasions and instances, an inability in that particular arena in terms of establishing interpersonal relationships. In fact, looking at that particular aspect of behavior, there are examples wherein when those interpersonal relationships did not grow to fruition or did not continue, a certain amount of stress was engendered, and that break of control that we alluded to earlier manifested itself.
Has she attempted suicide?
Yes, she has.
Is that consistent with individuals suffering from this disorder?
That is correct.
Why?
It is consistent because under situations, because of a lack of coping mechanisms that we have discussed earlier and a lack of adaptive mechanisms, the individual is unable to bring to bear rational, cognitive thinking processes on a particular situation. And given the attendant stress, the behavior and the control mechanisms break down. And as I indicated earlier, there are two dimensions of behavior. One can be internal, the other can be external. In this particular instance, the break in control was internal, and the aggression and the underlying anger and hostility was directed towards herself in the form of a suicidal attempt.
And the stress and other perceptions that these individuals have, are they Are they sometimes not in tune with what's going on out there?
Exactly. You see, the reality, in terms of what is really going on, is not really the crucial factor. The crucial factor is what the individual perceives, and that is what we're talking about here. We're talking about looking at the world through the eyes of Ms. Wuornos. So it's not what exists in terms of our view of reality, it's what the person perceives as existing. And if the person perceives threat, if the person perceives harm, if the person perceives abandonment, desertion, abuse, or what have you, you're going to have a break in control. Why? Because the person does not have the mechanisms, the control mechanisms, the secondary thought processes that we have alluded to as a result of those adverse factors and experiences that we have been talking about.
You indicated that you provided testing to Ms. Wuornos.
Yes, I did.
In one of the tests, I was going through it the other day, I think it's the MMPI, she left out some answers. Are you aware of that?
Yes, he did.
Did that affect the test itself?
No, not really, no.
And was that test consistent with your findings regarding Ms. Wuornos?
The findings in that particular test were consistent with the other findings which led to the conclusions that we have been discussing today.
I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jordan.
Good afternoon.
Would you consider that question a form of manipulation?
What question?
Good afternoon.
That's not a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Addressing you.
Just the address?
Okay, yes.
I would not give it a great deal of thought as to whether it represented manipulation or not. I would give you the benefit of the doubt that you are exchanging social amenities and take it from there.
With regard to what you've described in Ms. Wuornos, the vast majority of your opinion is based on her self-reporting. Is that not true? In other words, her stories.
No, that's not true.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Did she tell you what date did you interview her, please?
The first occasion was October 16th of 91. The second occasion was December 19th of 91.
All right, and
JC or J Money. Hey, dude, Jason, you were on the brand new wheel as well. I'm about to spin a wheel for another free T-shirt from coming through and leaving comments on the wrestling videos. Thank you so much. You have a possibility of winning.
On the October 16th, 91, did she tell you how she killed Mr. Mallory?
Oh, this dude likes to get spicy.
Did you ask her?
No, I did not.
Prosecutor?
Did you know she was charged with killing Mr. Mallory?
Yes, I did. I was aware of the charges, yes.
Did she tell you that Mr. Mallory had raped her anally and tied her up to a steering wheel and squirted alcohol in her nose and all that?
No, she did not tell me that.
Were you appointed as a confidential expert?
Yes, I was.
How about on December the 19th, 91? Did she tell you that Mr. Mallory raped her?
No, she did not.
Did you ever ask her any of the facts of how the killing of Richard Mallory came about?
No, we did not discuss the facts of how the killing of Mr. Mallory came about.
Never at all?
No.
You didn't think that was important to your diagnosis?
No.
You psychologists all do it a little differently, don't you? Everyone has their own method?
I believe so. I believe you'll find that psychologists will go about the process of conducting evaluations slightly differently, but the overall process will be in essence the same or similar.
But you didn't think it was important to hear from her the details of the killing, right?
No.
With regard to her self-reporting of her family situation, did you talk to her, the girl that actually lived in a sister relationship with her, Lori Brody, about their home and what went on at home?
No, I did not, but I did review a statement provided by that individual.
All right, Lori Grody, in her statement, said they had a comfortable home, a stable household, and the father was protective, didn't she?
Yes.
And that Ms. Wuornos had been cared for by the father, who was actually the grandfather, after her mother had abandoned her.
Yes, that's a part of what she said.
Okay, and that she had received medical care in the family.
Yes. And she also indicated that as part of her experience, that Ms. Wuornos appeared to be disliked by individuals in her environment who sometimes went out of their way to heap abuse on her.
All right, I was asking you about the family.
Oh, I'm considering that family.
I tell you what, you can add a lot of things after I ask the question. Let me ask you the question first.
Yeah.
With regard to the sister, Dorothy called her sister. She was really an aunt, but they began to live together when they were very young. The grandfather served as Eileen's father.
That's correct.
The grandmother served as the mother.
That's correct.
And the two young aunt and uncles who lived in the house really were like brothers and sisters more than uncles and aunts.
Well, in terms of the makeup of the household, you could say.
And as far as age differential, you usually think of an aunt, your aunt, as someone older and
Yeah, there
wise.
was not the usual age differential.
The two girls apparently played with fire together a few times, or at least one time.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And the sister aunt went on to say that, in fact, Aileen had a defiant attitude toward the parents, didn't she?
I don't recall the use of that word.
And that, in fact, that Aileen Wuornos was not improperly punished or disciplined by the father.
I don't recall offhand in that particular statement.
All right. And Lori Grody went on to say that around the age of 11 or 12, Aileen became rebellious. You certainly remember that, don't you? Manipulative of the parents.
I believe seeing that statement, yes.
And that Aileen had developed a quick temper and kind of a threatening personality there, even as a youngster in her early teens.
I remember seeing something with respect to temper, but that's what I recall specifically.
And with regard to discipline, the usual discipline was either grounding or spanking when they were younger, right?
I remember that statement, yes.
Okay. And really no excessive discipline, nothing to be alarmed.
I recall that from the statement, yes.
And no report of sexual abuse of Aileen Wuornos by the father.
I believe that was what the statement indicated, yes.
And the kids were treated pretty even-handedly, weren't any favorites type thing.
I understand that was her perception that was included in the statement, yes.
Did find out that the grandfather kind of drank after work when he came home, apparently most nights, drank regularly.
I don't recall, the specification of drinking after work, but that he drank, yes.
But that he was not a violent or abusive father.
That was her perception, yes.
Okay. With regard to what you call, I think, is cerebral dysfunction?
Cerebral dysfunction, cortical dysfunction, organicity, head trauma, brain damage.
Okay. She doesn't suffer that to the degree that a neurologist, an actual medical doctor, could do a CAT scan and pick out that, does she?
It may not show up on a CAT scan or type of neurological exam, no.
In fact, her level of dysfunction is no greater than many people who operate successfully in society, correct?
I don't know if it's no greater than anyone who operates successfully in society.
Well, I didn't mean anyone, I meant others. There are people with greater mental deficits that manage to go to work and live a relatively normal life.
I think usually you'll find that's been because there's been some intervention in order to bring that about.
How long has Aileen Wuornos been a borderline personality?
I can't give you a specific number of years, but the symptomatology goes back early on. She first began demonstrating or manifesting symptomatology around age 10 or 11. And it would not surprise me if there were not other cues earlier, one of which we have already alluded to in terms of truancy and school difficulties.
Okay.
But we're talking about a deficit of personality disorder that is of long standing. In fact, that's one of the criteria for it.
You found some history. She was a truant before she was 15, wasn't she?
Yes, she was truant, yes.
Set fires before she was 15.
I saw an instance where there was one fire that was involved, where she was involved with others.
Weren't there two? She and her sister, Ann, set a field on fire and she got burned a little bit.
I'm sorry, I'm only aware of one.
Okay. You remember that one?
Yes.
How about the one in the girls' bathroom at school when she was in 7th or 8th grade?
I'm not aware of that one.
You read Lori Brody's statement. You just don't remember everything in it, right?
I don't recall that.
With regard to the facts of this case, would the facts of how the killing of Mr. Mallory occurred make any difference at all in your diagnosis?
I am aware of Ms. Wuornos' version of how the killing occurred.
Which version?
The version that you alluded to earlier. In terms of Mr. Mallory's actions that you described.
The current version?
The version that you described.
The tie-up alcohol rape version?
Yes.
Were you aware of an earlier version where she didn't say she was raped at all or even an attempt to rape?
No, I'm not.
Were you aware of a version where she said the problem was she's afraid he was going to take the money
morning,
away from her, and that's why she got
Welcome in
mad?
here.
No, I'm not.
Were you aware of a version where she said that he wouldn't unzip his pants and that's why she got angry and they struggled about that and she got out and shot him?
No, I'm not.
If those were the facts, as opposed to her being raped and alcohol squirted up her and things like that, would you still have the same diagnosis?
In terms of the borderline personality disorder? Yes, she suffers the effects of a borderline personality disorder. That's been a lifelong and a long-standing disorder, not just one that was recently diagnosed.
And it wouldn't make any difference what the circumstances were under which she killed Mr. Mallory, would it?
No, I can't say that it wouldn't make any difference. What I'm saying to you is that she suffers the effects of a borderline personality disorder, and it is a disorder of long standing.
You said that a moment ago. What I'm asking you is if, in fact, there was not a rape and a tie-up and alcohol up nose event, but very simply she got mad at him because he wouldn't unzip his pants, you would still say she had a borderline personality disorder, right?
That's what I just indicated. It's a long-standing disorder, yes.
And in fact, if she had not had any attempt at sex at all, but she just simply decided to rob him and kill him, you would still say she had a borderline personality disorder, right?
And if I would still say she had a borderline personality disorder, what I'm saying to you is that my diagnosis is that she suffers the effects of a borderline personality disorder. That disorder is one of long standing.
You said that, doctor. What I'm asking you is this.
Objection to the argumentative nature, Your Honor.
Yes, question.
And what I'm asking you is this. It wouldn't make any difference if all that happened, and I use that in kind of vernacular, is that if all that happened was that they pulled into the woods and then she started shooting with no provocation because she was going to rob him, kill him, take his property, she would still be diagnosed by you as having a borderline personality disorder.
That is correct, yes.
That wouldn't change your diagnosis at all.
No, that is correct.
Wouldn't change the reason for the killing.
That she would still be diagnosed as suffering the effects of a borderline personality disorder.
She does, in fact, know right from wrong, doesn't she?
And I spoke with her on those two occasions, and she does at this time, yes.
And she is capable of conforming to lawful conduct and understanding the consequences of her act.
Based upon the times that I saw her at that time, she was.
Is there any reason that you did not diagnose her as recognized under DSM-3R as an antisocial personality?
Yes,
What would that be?
there are a number of very significant reasons. One reason is that you're talking about an antisocial personality disorder. And that particular disorder, one of the oftentimes individuals refer to someone suffering from an antisocial.
I've kind of checked out of this. I was interested in the next. This guy makes me check out the prosecutor. I don't like him.
As part
Absolute
of my evaluation,
cocksucker.
she manifested remorse. So that would not apply. As I look at her history is not consistent with that of someone suffering the effects of an antisocial personality disorder. What you find with an antisocial personality disorder is a certain constancy in terms of their behavior. Their violation of societal norms and the norms of other individuals is a constant. It continues over time, and if you observe their behavior, that is a constant with them. If you look at the history of Ms. Wuornos, what you find is that the inappropriate behavior is not a constant. If you look at her history very carefully, you'll notice that there are gaps, and when I say gaps, I'm referring to the fact that there are periods of time where she made conscious efforts to be a productive citizen, to work, to earn a living, to start a business. But because of the aforementioned deficits that we have alluded to as a result of her early years and what have you, she was unable to maintain that particular posture. But what that says is that in spite of the existence of the personality disorder, here was an individual where there was ego strength trying to manifest itself, saying, I'm worthwhile, I can do something. But because of the long range and long standing deficits, she was unable to. You don't find that with with someone suffering the effects of an antisocial personality disorder. So those are two major reasons why there would be a differential diagnosis.
Could you break that down into maybe two sentences? One, you said she
Talia, welcome in.
Conscience and remorse.
Remorse, yes.
That's one.
Conscience, yes.
And what's the other?
And the second is that when you look at her history is not consistent with that of an individual suffering the effects of an antisocial personality disorder.
All right. Are you aware that she said it was all right that she killed these men because they were of an age that they didn't have parents, no family, so it really didn't matter?
No.
That would be indicative of not having a conscience, wouldn't it?
It may be.
Well, what would you call it?
That was not you're telling me something and I'm saying to you that I was not aware of that based upon my evaluation of her.
Did you read the typed statement that she gave to the police?
I read a statement that of her statement. I read a copy of the statement based upon the tape that was given as part of her arrest.
And in that statement, you don't recall her saying because of the age of the men and they didn't have families, it didn't make much sense?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay, you're not denying she said it.
I can't deny it. I'm saying to you I don't recall that, no.
And are you also aware that she also made the statement to another person that it was okay that these men deserved to die because they were cheating on their families when she was a prostitute?
I'm not aware of that.
But if you said that, that would be indicative of no remorse, wouldn't it?
In that particular instance, yes.
What about the fact, let's go hypothetically for a moment, because you don't know any of the facts of any killings, do you?
I know the facts based upon the documents that I've been provided.
Okay, you're aware that she told numerous stories with regard to each killing?
Yes. I don't know about with regard to each killing with respect to Mr. Mallory.
Okay. All right, but you're not aware that she told remarkably and markedly different stories as she went along with regard to each killing, changing her stories all along?
My main concern was with the case that is the subject at hand.
Are you saying you're not aware of it then?
No, I'm not.
Would that make a difference?
fact that there were different stories?
Yeah, that she's telling a lot of different stories each time, kind of improving on why she killed those people.
No, I would not. It would not surprise me.
You'd have the same diagnosis.
If the doctor can answer, Your Honor.
Oh, I thought he had. He said it wouldn't surprise
It
you.
would not surprise me by virtue of what I have discussed with respect to this particular personality disorder and how it manifests itself. That would not be surprising.
Right. So lying and changing stories would be consistent with his personality disorder.
Lying and changing stories is your characterization of that. I choose to see it as an individual whose cognitive processes are not functioning appropriately, and an individual whose behavior, i.e. recall, reporting facilities, etc., breaks down under stress. If you were talking about someone who was not suffering the effects of a borderline personality disorder, I might tend to agree with you. But knowing how behavior breaks down under stress, knowing the lack of skill in terms of adapting and coping, I would not agree with that.
In other words, because she has personality, borderline personality disorder, if she changes her story, it's not a lie.
What I'm saying is, what I'm saying in response to that is what I have just said. Given the particular characteristics of the borderline personality disorder and what we have talked about with regard to its characteristics and the organicity, it is not surprising to find that there would be variations in stories or accounts that were provided with respect to what has transpired. I would not call it lying because when I think of lying, I'm thinking of some preconceived plan. I see it as another manifestation of this personality disorder.
Okay. Are you saying that a person with personality disorder can't lie?
Breathing so hard.
I think I've answered the question.
No, I've asked you a different question. Are you saying a person with a personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, can't lie?
I'm saying that a person who is suffering the effects of a borderline personality disorder will exhibit behavior such as that we have been talking about, and that what you consider to be a lie, I consider to be a manifestation of the personality disorder.
All right. Let me ask you this. With regard to the shooting of Mr. Karskadden,
I'm sorry?
Mr. Karskadden, for example.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the hearing, Your Honor.
This goes to the credibility of the witness.
Not relevant, Your Honor.
That's overruled. Go ahead.
With regard to the shooting of one of the victims, Mr. Karskadden, the first story she told was that she shot him in the back seat of the car. After she shot him several times, she got out and learned for the first time, didn't know it before, that he had a pistol because it was laying on the hood. And then she got mad and reloaded the gun and went in and shot him some more. Then she ultimately told Dr. McMahon that they began to get ready to have sex in the woods, and she saw him take a gun and put it between the front and the back part of the back seat. Shoved it in there up next to himself, and she was nervous because he had this gun. And she said, "Are you going to rob me?" And he said some innocuous response, and with that she grabbed the gun and she shot him over and over again because she's afraid he was going to get her. And she killed him. And she was so mad she shot him some more. And then the next time she talked to Dr. McMahon about it, months later, she said that she was there and they're getting ready to have sex, and he came out and he had the gun stuck in the belt of his clothes, and he whipped it out and he put it in her mouth and he cocked the hammers and he made her have oral sex with him, and then he clicked the hammer against her head and scared her, and she flopped to the ground and shook in fright, and that she thought she was going to be murdered. And then he got in the back seat and put the gun down, and she managed to get her gun and shoot him to death. Those are each remarkably, totally different stories.
Objection, Your Honor. It's argument. It's not a question.
I'll ask the question.
Compound question.
I'm sorry.
Motion for mistrial.
Do you?
Motion for mistrial denied.
Don't you find those to be remarkably, totally different stories with the details of how that murder was supposed to have occurred according to her?
Objection, Your Honor. That case is not an issue here to use another.
Overrule.
If your question is, do I find the stories different? Yes, I do.
And would that not be indicia of the fact that she is not telling the truth with regard to at least 2, if not 3 of those stories or more?
I can't answer that.
No, you can't, can you?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Okay. You can't tell this jury whether or not that's an indication that she's not telling the truth, at least in one of the stories?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Next overrule is
It may or may not be indicative of the fact that she is telling the truth. My point to you is that given the effects of the borderline personality disorder that I have described to you, variations in stories or accounts or descriptions of what has taken place, that kind of variation is consistent with the existence of that personality disorder.
But not indication of lying.
Whether it may or may not be.
How about we give away another t-shirt? Let's take a t-shirt break. Let me get this over here. Thanks everyone for hanging out again. Appreciate it, guys. All right, yeah, so this is our second t-shirt giveaway this morning. Wildside won the first one. If you are a winner, here is where you can go to pick out your t-shirt and just let me know where to send it to, what size, which shirt, all those good things. If you get with me, there's a possibility I could even maybe do different colors. Just let me know from what you could be seeing. Ember, you're on this wheel, Ember. Perfect timing coming in here, actually. So on this wheel for, again, this is a secret wheel, guys. The only way to get on this wheel is to go and leave a comment and leave a like and watch the video from my second channel, Wrestle Plunge, when I drop that content. I drop a new video every 2 to 3 weeks. In the last 2 videos, I've let those kind of build up. So we just gave away the first shirt, and we're going to give away another shirt. Thank you, Teresa, True Crown Butterfly, Holly Berry, Pammy, Wildside, Gabby, Ember Burns, J Money, Chris Dewitt, Bassett Page, and Simi Sharp. We're about to give away another t-shirt. Good luck, everyone. Ooh, wow. Okay, I will say this. J Money has a lot of luck. I know he was just in here, Jason, a minute ago. His luck is insane. I think that's the 3rd shirt he's won. And I'm not joking. Holy cow. Congratulations, J Money. You've picked up another shirt. Let me know which one you would like, and I will get that to you. Yeah, just send me a message on X. I think that's how we usually communicate. So we're not done. We have one more wheel. It's not for a shirt, though. It's for some of the goodies. I need to see what I still got at upstairs to actually ship out, but I know I have some good stuff to still send. So whatever we're going to be doing, I know we still got the Savage, the super rare Savage sticker as well. But either way, boom, we got one more to go. And congratulations, Jason. Thanks, everyone. You guys are the best.
But it is inconsistent.
Oh, no, so close. I thought it. Right, dude? I was like, holy shit. You got some good luck, dude.
With regard to the tests
you need to go play the lottery.
you gave, could you give me a list of the tests you gave her?
I administered the Bender Listolf designs, the revised beta examination, the Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory.
3 wheels in a day? You kidding me? Boom. That's what we do out here in a Buzz Nation.
And the Carlson psychological survey.
Thank you guys. Seriously, I appreciate all the help, man. We doing stuff. We trying. It's a jungle out here.
Exhibit 6 times D and E, 7 times D and E, and ask you if these are true copies of those tests that you furnished to me.
It looks as if they are. Yes, that is correct. Yes, they are.
And it was upon these tests that you have based your opinion?
Yes.
Plus the interview?
Yes, and the evaluation or assessment of the documents and what have you.
Your Honor, we'd offer the tests and evidence.
Objection to use of the test, Your Honor. No objection to any questions about the test.
With regard to the personality, well, let me ask you a question. regard to 7 times D, basically, these are picture tests. This beta 2,
That's the revised beta examination, yes.
and kind of get out of the maze type tests.
Yes, that particular test is yes.
And Bender Gestalt, what does that take?
The Bender Gestalt assesses functioning across several levels. One, as we've talked about, it reflects or serves as an indicator of organicity or brain damage.
May I ask you this?
Yes.
Is that the whole test?
That's the whole test, yes.
Is that
There are
one?
8.
That's it?
That's it, yes.
One
That's
page
the
of
answer, Your Honor.
one page of squiggly lines?
That may be your interpretation, but it's more than one page of squiggly lines, and it has research dating back to the 1940s that has been on a regular basis renormed and updated with respect to validity.
I would again offer the test, Your Honor, so the jury can look at what kind of test he's giving. He bases his opinion upon it.
Your Honor, argumentative moves from this
I
jury.
have sustained the objection to the mission test.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Motion from Ms. Collins.
With regard to this borderline personality disorder, it's pretty common, isn't it?
Common?
Yes.
I don't know how common it is. No.
Would you call it common?
I've never really thought about it in terms of whether it's common or not.
Okay, could you think about it? When you get an answer, let me know.
Sure.
This guy's such a dick,
When I
man.
get an answer, I'll let you know.
You don't know whether it's common or not?
No, I have not thought about it in that sense, as to whether it's common or uncommon.
Well, can you
Jesus.
give us an answer now, whether you believe it's common or not?
I can give you an answer in terms of my experience.
All right.
I've honestly checked out, and I'm not even sure what they're actually talking about. But when I did check in, and I see the prosecutor being this level of an absolute dickhead, like he's been through the entire thing to everyone. Good Lord. The only person that he's respectful to is the judge.
Necessarily be that common.
You know it's considered by the DSM-3R
I won't miss this
as
guy.
being common.
I think you have to be very careful.
Dude, will you
in
shut the
making that
fuck
kind
up?
of- That kind of.
I'm gonna fight this guy through
with
time and
respect to
space.
the
I need a time machine
DSM-3R.
so I can teleport right into
Well,
this
the
courtroom.
word's this, prevalence is the subtitle, says borderline personality disorder is apparently common. What other interpretation should
Would
I
you read
put?
on?
Sir?
Would you read on?
Yes, it goes on predisposing factors and familial patterns, no information.
Okay. Is there any specification with regard to gender?
I'm sorry?
Is there any specification with regard to gender?
No.
With regard to
Looks like
age?
men and women both have it.
Both have it. But does that say anything about how common it is with respect to male or female gender?
Do you disagree with the DSM-3R?
Objection, Your Honor, that's a misleading question in the context in which it's read.
Those weren't my words. I read the DSM-3R.
My answer to you is that based upon my experience, I do not find it to be that common.
What about the antisocial personality? Is that more common or less common?
I'm not sure.
Do you know what the DSM-3R says about it?
I'm not sure. I don't really pay a lot of attention as to whether something is common. That really has no bearing whatsoever in terms of my work or my diagnosis.
You don't know what the DSM-3R says about prevalence
No.
with regard to the antisocial personality?
No.
Would you have any reason to disagree if the opinion expressed in DSM-3R is that for American females, less than 1% would have the antisocial personality?
Mr. Tanner, I'm not disagreeing with the DSM-3R. I'm simply responding to your question based upon my own experience. And my experience, in terms of the particular
You said it wasn't
manifestation may not be the same as the people who put that together.
Yeah.
So I'm not disputing that. I'm simply trying to respond to you from my own experience.
You relied upon the DSM-3R in reaching your conclusions, correct?
I didn't rely upon it in terms of reaching my conclusions. It is the particular diagnosis is one of the many diagnoses contained in the DSM-3R.
All right. They gave you some criteria in DSM-3R, did they not, with regard to antisocial personality?
I believe they give criteria for most of the diagnostic categories that they provide.
And did you not find that Ms. Wuornos met all of the criteria in criterias A, C, and D, or enough of the criteria A, C, and D to qualify for antisocial personality?
In my opinion, she did not.
No. I'm asking if she met the criteria with regard to A, C, and D. There are 4 major categories.
Are we talking, what particular category are we talking about? Diagnostic category?
Antisocial personality disorder.
Okay.
And she met 3 of the 4 easily, did she not?
Oh, I don't know if she met them easily. If you're trying to ask if there's some similarity between the two.
Well, did she meet any of them easily?
Easily for the antisocial personality disorder?
Yes.
There are some.
That's awesome, Joe. Yeah, I'm not a big sports fan or, anything like that in general, but sometimes if you watch something like that and then it goes in overtime or it's real close, I find myself to getting excited as well. It's happened to me many times. That's awesome, though. Hell yeah, let's go USA.
Some overlap in terms of the characteristics for both. Yes. The thing you have to be very careful about, Mr. Tanner, is that if you look at each of those categories in the DSM-3R, the DSM-3R, first of all, is a cookbook, and it indicates after each diagnostic category or each diagnostic grouping that there's also a section that deals with differential diagnosis. So you have to be very careful in using that because that is meant to be used by individuals with some clinical skill. So it's not just that you go in and you do a matching job where yes, one here, one there, because there is a differential category with respect to diagnosis for each particular category. And so while there may be some similarity in terms of presenting symptomatology, it does not necessarily mean that it necessarily relates to that particular diagnosis.
I need just a moment.
I use these Wuornos emojis while I can. It's almost into this trial.
Thank you.
Well, let me just hit 2 of the categories real quickly. One of them, she was over the age of 18, wasn't she, when you interviewed her?
Yes, she was.
Okay, so that's 1 out of the 4 she made.
Yes, she was over the age of 18 when I interviewed her.
And before the age of 15, she was often a truant, right?
That is correct.
And she'd run away from home overnight at least twice.
That is correct.
And she often initiated fights as a child.
I'm not sure about her having initiated fights.
Okay. Well, she deliberately engaged in fire setting.
I don't know that she deliberately did engage in fire setting.
But her sister said she did.
I believe my recollection of that is that there were a number of individuals who were playing with fire.
You don't recall her sister's statement that I'm sure you read that she set the fire in the girl, that she, Aileen, set the fire in the girls' bathroom when she was in the 7th, 8th, or 9th grade?
I've indicated I don't recall that. You had asked me about that earlier.
Leave this man alone, dear God.
She was not suffering from hallucinations, was she?
When?
Well, do you have any evidence she's suffering
When?
from hallucinations? Hallucinations.
Well, in the statement that you have been alluding to by Lori, what's the pronunciation of the last name?
Lori Grody's the one
Lori
that it
Grody.
was her sister that saw her set the fire in the bathroom and in the feet.
Objection, Your Honor. If the doctor could answer the last question, Your Honor.
In the statement that was given by Lori Grody, I recall her citing an incident where one night she was at home and Ms. Wuornos called her on the phone and went through a series of statements telling her that she saw the Lord in her room and at the foot of her bed.
Saw the Lord?
Yes.
Well, why would you say that's a hallucination?
Objection, Your Honor, that's misleading. That's how the
No,
witness
it's not.
described it.
Let
Yes,
me
it
answer the
is.
question.
Answer the question.
That was the description of the perception of Ms. Grody. And her perception was that that was an indication of the abnormal behavior, inappropriate behavior of Ms. Wuornos.
Okay, so now you're taking Ms. Grody as a consultant or something.
Objection, Your Honor.
Is that what that's based upon?
You asked a particular question.
No, what I
with
asked you
respect
was,
to-
did you have any evidence she's suffering from hallucinations?
And I just cited a statement from Ms. Grody.
Well, do you remember when I asked you whether you had seen any evidence of her hallucinating? Any evidence of her suffering hallucinations? Your answer was no?
No, I have not personally witnessed Ms. Wuornos hallucinating.
But Ms. Brody said she saw the Lord by the bed, so therefore you interpret that as maybe a hallucination.
I'm giving you that as an example of, you mentioned hallucinations. That is what Ms. Grody described as part of her statement.
What I asked you was, did you have any evidence that she was suffering
And
from
I answered
hallucination?
that. I answered that I have not witnessed, that's correct. I have not witnessed Ms. Wuornos experiencing hallucinations.
You have any evidence she's suffering from hallucinations other than what you just said?
No, I do not.
Okay. And what about delusions?
I'm sorry, what was the last word?
Well, when I asked you this question, let me just ask you, and ask if your answer is different. We took your deposition January the 25th. That was just 4 days ago.
That's correct.
And I asked you, I'm not asking you if she hallucinated as, on page 55, line 13, I'm not asking you if she hallucinated as a result of being in contact with you. I'm asking you to have any evidence of her having hallucinations. Your answer was no. I had no evidence of her having had hallucinations. That was your answer, wasn't it?
That's correct, yes.
And then with regard to delusions, you said you had no evidence that you had suffered from delusions, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Colonel, I don't know if you can impeach when the answer is consistent that's just been given for.
Well, the first one wasn't consistent. I assume the second would be.
I thought he answered the second one, Your Honor.
That was my knowledge at the time, yes.
With regard to the ultimate bottom line mental diagnosis, this woman knows right from wrong, doesn't she?
Based upon the contact that I've had with her, yes, she does know right from wrong now, yes.
And she's not criminally insane.
Based upon my evaluation, no, she is not.
She understands the consequences of her acts,
Yes, she does.
and she's responsible for her conduct.
At this particular time, with respect to the existence of that particular disorder, you would have to be more specific than to make a broad generalization such as she is responsible for her conduct.
Are you saying that people that suffer from borderline personalities aren't responsible for their conduct?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you have to be more specific than simply saying responsible for your conduct, because that can mean everything and nothing.
No question, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes, Your Honor. Doctor, you can get sort of can spin everywhere when you use the DSM-3R. This book is a book regarding disorders.
That is correct, yes.
The people it talks about are people who are disordered,
That is correct.
who are impaired,
That's correct.
who are deficient,
That is correct.
who are disturbed,
That's correct.
who are mentally ill.
All of those, yes.
And when the word common is used in the DSM-3R, they're talking about a common trait among people who are disturbed
That's correct.
and impaired.
Exactly. Based
And
upon
mentally
those. Yes.
When when you were talking about Lori Grody's statement, then you heard some objections and some interaction between myself and Mr. Tanner.
Yes.
Ms. Grody was asked by a detective, did you ever know Aileen to have any hallucinations? Do you recall that?
Yes.
Page 35. And she said, Lori now, one time she called me from a motel somewhere, and I don't remember the year, I don't remember the motel, saying that she saw the Lord at the foot of her bed, a white light that she believed to be the Lord. That was Lori's answer.
That's correct, yes.
When you were talking to Mr. Tanner, were you telling him that you yourself have evidence of Ms. Wuornos hallucinating?
No, I was indicating to him that particular piece of information from Ms. Grody's statement.
Lori said she perceived that. She answered that to the hallucination.
That is correct, yes.
Lori said a bunch of other things Mr. Tanner didn't ask you about in her statement. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Lori said other things.
Yes, she did.
She said that she was going to admit her sister to a hospital. Did she not in her statement?
Yes, she did.
She said that she spoke to her brother about committing her sister. Isn't that
Yes,
correct?
I believe she said that she had spoken with her brother regarding committing her to a hospital.
And that was because of her sister's behavior, right?
That is correct.
Lori also said in the statement that Lori also discussed mood swings that Lee had.
That's one of the issues that she raised, one of the concerns that she had, the wide mood swings and changes in behavior.
Lori also discussed the fact that Lee tried to commit suicide on 3 separate occasions.
Yes.
She discussed the fact that Lee tried to commit suicide by overdosing on pills.
That's correct. She indicated that she, at that time, appeared to be using what she described as downers and reds.
She also described the fact that Lee always suffered from feelings of persecution in her statement.
That's correct, yes.
She also discussed the fact that Lee was different than other people.
That is correct, yes.
She discussed her father's drinking and the fact that he was an alcoholic.
That is correct, yes.
She discussed Lee's grandmother's drinking.
That is correct.
She also said she does that, referring to Lee. She'll find one person that she really, really likes and focus all her attention, everything. He's good about that person. If you talk to him, this is good, that's good. Now, if they do something wrong that she doesn't like, it's switched around. She'll hate their guts that fast.
Yes, that is an example of what we talked about earlier when we talked about the ingratiating behavior with respect to the borderline personality disorder and how, in terms of manifestation, that you get differences in terms of reaction, where there is the behavior designed to ingratiate oneself with another, and that the other person then is considered to be, is idealized. And then when something happens, either real or perceived, then the break in control comes, and the person then acts out either towards herself or towards someone else. But you get the changeability in behavior as a result of the breakdown with respect to coping and control mechanisms.
In her statement, she also, the statement I was just reading to you from is what we call the Citrus County statement to Investigator Padgett.
Yes.
There's another statement from Lori Grody that you have.
Yes.
The one from Officer Goretzky from
Correct. That's correct, yes.
And in that statement, there are records regarding things that Lori has said, are there not? This is the Goretzky statement. I was just in general.
That's okay. That's all right.
I'd like you to follow along.
I haven't asked the questions. The Goretzky statement also provides information
That's
regarding
correct.
Lori's account.
Yes.
In the statement to Officer Padgett, the statement to the Citrus County people, Lori also says that Lee was the kind of person that you wanted to like, but just couldn't connect with her.
That is correct. That is often how individuals suffering borderline personality disorder are described by people who observe them. And that goes back to what I alluded to earlier in terms of the internal conflicts experienced by those individuals. On the one hand, they desperately seek nurturance and support but because of the lack of trust, the fear of betrayal, the likelihood or the sensing of eventual abandonment, you get the kind of approach avoidance situation, so that people want to reach out, want to be accepting, but on the other hand, they are alienated by the lack of trust. And on the part of the individual, there is this confusion and this conflict. On the one hand, I want the nurturance. On the other hand, I don't think I deserve it, and I know, based upon my history, that I'm going to be eventually betrayed and abandoned.
And Lori discussed the mood swings, the change of affect that Leo has had.
That is correct, and that has been consistent over time.
She was also asked in that statement by a prosecutor from Marion and Citrus counties, a fellow by the name of Tony Tabby, whether Lee had any strengths. Do you recall Lori's answer to that? Her answer was no, nothing.
That is correct.
Is that consistent with a person of a borderline personality disorder?
That is consistent because what we have, in essence, as I have attempted to describe, is really a breakdown.
Uh-oh, Sharon, morning. What's going on? Coming through with holy shit, with $50. My God. Holy fuck, Sharon. What is even happening right now? Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. Holy shit. I think I'm going to have to sing the entire Give Me the Loot Biggie song to you right now. Good Sunday to all. Have two things to say. One, prosecutor equals huge dick. Two, didn't sleep at all, so I'm listening with eyes closed. Love you. Thank you for coming through here, and holy fucking shit. I can't believe that. Let me get you on this wheel, because we have a brand new wheel starting. And, yeah, we have a third wheel I'm about to actually spin this morning, which is crazy. I gave away 2 t-shirts. Now we're going to give away some goodies. And let me do this here. Boom. Got you on the wheel. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know what the conversion of that would be, but thank you so much for whatever the fuck you just gave me, because, oh my God, that rules. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Yeah, and I got to get the other wheel
control and management mechanisms, so that the kind of mechanisms that we often think about that allow us to engage in long-range planning, that allow us to control our impulses, that allow us to learn from our past mistakes, those mechanisms are not there. Those strengths are not there. And that is what we're talking about in the case of Ms. Wuornos.
All of these things we've been talking about, you relied upon in formulating your opinion.
That's correct, yes.
Lori also talked about the fact that Lee believed that folks were out to get her when she was young. Is that consistent with a person suffering from a borderline personality disorder?
That's very consistent. And on the one hand, individuals might describe it as paranoid behavior. But on the other hand, it has some basis in reality by virtue of the fact that the individual's experiences and contact with other individuals have not been rewarding.
Next, we'll ready to rock and roll. We'll do that right before we end today. And Jason coming through the old Cash App. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, with a $5 holler. And again, the luckiest dude. He's won his 3rd t-shirt from publiclybuzz.com. And thank you so much.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Thank you so much.
Positive. It's been basically negative.
And regarding the family, Lori was asked by the Investigator Paget, did Aileen get praised for positive accomplishments?
Build another
for
wheel.
instance, like a good report card. If she did well on a project, would she be praised for it? Referring to the grandparents, and Lori said, I can't remember that she was. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And is that something that's consistent with the familial discord that you discussed?
It is consistent in terms of familial discord and dysfunctional family.
He's rocking the PB merch. I love it. It's crazy. He's got PB merch literally all over the globe.
You watched the video.
I've mailed to a lot of different countries.
Ms. Wuornos provided statements to law enforcement.
Yes.
A lot of different states. The whole collection for free? Oh my lord. Hey, the support, that's what you can get from supporting Publicly Buzzed. Huh? Who else is giving away t-shirts like that? Nobody.
The facts
Everybody else afraid to give away anything.
regarding Mr. Mallory.
Right, you're
and
doing
your
a damn thing.
diagnosis.
Yes.
I've always appreciated everyone, man.
You do know
So much.
various accounts regarding the facts of the offense.
Yes.
You have the video, you have
Appreciate all the help on the other channel.
accounts to the other doctors, you have investigative
Trying to grow
reports,
it.
you have all sorts
Hard.
of information on it.
Yes.
Is there anything in the DSM-3R or in any other
That's one of my
recognized
favorites.
criteria that
Sure.
indicates that a diagnosis is built on a specific instance?
No, it is not. Diagnosis is never made on one particular instance.
And her diagnosis for impairments, for deficiencies, for disorder, those have been with her whole life.
That is correct. Long-standing duration.
And they've affected her behavior throughout her life.
Yes, that is correct.
I have nothing further to add.
Yes, Dr. She didn't start killing people because she got a .22 pistol and started carrying it, did she?
My God, this guy's
I think
back
she's
to torture me
charged
for
with
3 more
killing
minutes.
individuals. I think if you talk about the
I
diagnosis.
think that's only a yes or no. She didn't start killing people
Objection, Your
until,
Honor.
let me finish the question.
Well, let him finish the answer.
I asked simply, she didn't start killing people until after she got the .22 pistol and started carrying it, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Even though she's had this personality defect for 34 years, right?
That's correct.
In the review of what her sister said, where her sister said that she thought about hospitalizing her, but just before that, she described an event where Aileen attacked her on the couch with a skewer, didn't she?
Yes, I recall that.
Went for her throat.
Yes.
So, that was when Aileen was what, only 18?
Hear it.
I'm not sure about the age.
And then in 78, back in 78, she thought she ought to commit her to a mental institution or something.
I believe so, yes.
Also, the mother, Tully, was interviewed extensively, and when she was asked if any of her relatives, that would include her father, right,
Yes,
had ever sexually touched or fondled or abused her, her answer was no. What?
that's correct.
No history of the grandfather sexually abusing Eileen's mother, is there?
Based upon her perceptions, no.
Well, not based upon the mother's perceptions. Tully.
That's what I'm saying, not based upon that.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Ellis?
I would just have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
The familial relationship as involving strict parents.
Yes,
She also described Ms. Wuornos. Could the description she gave of Ms. Wuornos as a child be
That's
both bizarre?
crazy, Simi. Wow.
her description of this.
Yeah, when she was talking about what he do his life.
That's amazing.
Now, those
Yes.
consistent with a disturbed child.
That is, as I've indicated earlier, there were a number of cries for help that evidently were never heeded. And
That's
as
so
a result, we get behavior that does what you would expect. It becomes worse as time goes on. So early on, there are signs, there are cues that something
Objection,
is
Your Honor.
wrong.
There's not a question. Now we're getting to speech.
That's where you go now, sir.
Keep going.
What happens is when there is insufficient or no intervention, you can expect that behavior will deteriorate.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Judge.
No questions?
We keep the witness or maybe discharged.
You may be discharged, Your Honor, as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
You may stand down and order, sir.
How long is this next one? We're about to spin another wheel. What the hell? This next one. 30 minutes. Yeah, let's bust this one out too. Psychiatrist Dr. George Bernard takes the stand during this penalty phase. So we'll get his information here. But first we're going to, well, hold on. First we're going to spin a wheel. Go ahead and get this over here. Thanks everyone for coming through. I really appreciate it. Everyone's given donations this morning. Thank you all so much. Rocking and rolling. And again, I'm working on a brand new video now for the Wrestle Punch channel. So those opportunities for the t-shirts, will keep popping up. So keep an eye out. I promote the hell out of them on X and Discord, in the community page, on the members community page as well, and here on the live. So make sure you keep your ears perked up for the opportunity to get on the secret wheel for a free t-shirt from publiclybuzzed.com. And I have a lot of really cool merch on there. I have a lot of shirts. Probably too many, actually. But you can get any of those shirts if you pick up a victory. And the next wheel we're going to be spinning is going to be for some goodies. I need to see what I've got. I don't want to even say anything because I need to double check. I know I've got the Savage, like the lifted sticker, like the one you can fill the pattern on. I think I still got Publicly Buzzed stickers. I know we're running low on the coasters, though. We'll see. Either way, let's go. Let's get a spin in here. This is everyone that's donated on the last wheel. Jessica for Justice, Austin, Just a Crazy Jen, Tiff Knox, Pokemon, Teresa. Oh, I got Tiff Knox on there twice. My bad. Oh, no, that's right. Fuck. You can be on this one twice. My bad. I forgot which one we're looking at here. This is not the shirt one. This is for the goodies. Tiff Knox again because she's a badass. Paige, True Crime Butterfly, Forrest coming through here, Gabby, and then Just a Crazy Jen coming through and rounding it out again. So we got Tiff Knox and Just a Crazy Jen getting double opportunities on this wheel because they donated twice. There is no limit to donations on a wheel. Let's go. Jessica pulling out a victory. Guest on this channel on many a Feral Friday and many a show in the past, actually. Love Jessica. And we're going to be getting her back on here soon, I'm sure. And she just picked up a victory. Don't let me forget to let her know, or when she pops back in here in the future. And I need to get her in the winning position here. Whoa, wrong one. My bad. Holy shit. Wait a minute, I thought we were doing another one. Yeah, we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep going here. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out.
Say half for the testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. We would call the witness Bill Rickleman.
Your Honor, may we approach Mr. Rickleman?
You have a seat, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Please, the court. Sir, would you state your name, your profession, and briefly outline your professional education and training?
Okay. My name is George Barnard. I'm a physician and psychiatrist. I basically went to undergraduate school at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. I had my medical school training at the University of North Carolina. Had an internship, 3 years of residency. I had 4 years of payback for the Air Force since I was sponsored by the military. And I did that at the Aerospace Medical Research Lab in Dayton, Ohio. Came to the University of Florida in 1963, and I've been on the faculty there ever since.
Your Honor, subject to Mr. Tanner eliciting whatever background facts he deems important. I know Dr. Bernard very well, and we would stipulate to his qualifications.
Thank you. Dr. Barnard, could you tell us, please, what your medical specialty is?
My medical specialty is forensic psychiatry. This is a subspecialty of psychiatry, and basically it's the interface of psychiatry and the law.
Your Honor, we tender Dr. Barnard as a forensic psychiatrist. Could you please
Congrats,
tell
Jessica.
me the difference in training between yourself and a psychologist?
All right, I'm going to run up and use the bathroom because this coffee's going right through.
The person who is going into psychiatry essentially has had undergraduate training similar to the psychologist, but then it begins to be different with the psychiatrist taking 4 years of medical training, year of internship, and then 3 years of residency, whereas the psychologist, after the undergraduate degree, has taken 3 or 4 years of graduate training in the specialty of psychology. The psychologist works toward a degree of a PhD, and the psychiatrist is an MD. There's a lot of difference in their training.
All right, be right back, guys. Thanks, everyone, for hanging.
The years of specialization, in that the
30 more
psychiatrist gets more emphasis, I think, in terms of the biological medical aspects, and the psychologist will get more in terms of doing specialized psychological testing.
Can a psychologist prescribe medicine under current law in the state of Florida?
No.
But a psychiatrist such as yourself can and does prescribe medicine?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to examine, pursuant to court order, Aileen Wuornos, assistant courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Is this the lady that you examined?
Yes.
You want to make the record reflect identification? Thank you. Sir, could you tell the jury, please, when it was that you conducted the examination and where?
Okay. Basically, I saw Ms. Wuornos in the Division of Forensic Psychiatry in Gainesville on January the 9th of this year. And it took place from a little before 9 until about 5 afternoon.
Was there anything at the outset of the examination that was disruptive or out of the ordinary?
She was somewhat agitated over what had taken place on a trip over, but she was concerned about.
What were her complaints?
She was essentially...
Objection as to relevancy, Your Honor.
Overruled.
She was basically saying that the officers had made some sexual remarks to her, and that she considered it, I think, to be a form of inappropriate remarks.
Was there some threat by her, to your knowledge, to save the officers who tried to rape her or had raped her?
Objection to the form of the question, Your Honor.
Overruled.
This was not from her, but from the officer who was with her, said that in the sally port prior to coming over, she had made such a remark.
And was she offered a rape kit examination to detect if someone had intercourse with her?
Yes.
She declined the rape kit examination?
Yes.
Based upon your examination, if you will, just briefly tell the jury what you did. I'm not going to ask you to go through history all over again. That's been gone through, I think, 3 times already.
Surely.
So just basically tell the jury how you prepared yourself and how you were able to reach a conclusion if you were.
Essentially, with the defendant, I inquired about her understanding of the legal charges against her, her account of the alleged crime, specifically what happened on that day, and what took place subsequent to that time. I inquired about any prior arrests she may have had, went into her past history, determining about her family of origin, how she got along with different family members, her educational record, employment history, military history, marital history, medical, psychiatric, substance abuse history, did a mental status examination to carry out certain kinds of things to determine if she was oriented, how her memory was functioning, and so forth. In addition to that, I had reviewed extensive materials that had been provided by the Office of the State Attorney and Office of the Defense Attorney.
And were you able to reach a conclusion or opinion based upon reasonable medical probability as to her mental condition as it relates to the legal definition of sanity and her ability to conform to law?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury what that conclusion was?
Basically, it was my opinion that at the time of the crime, she was legally sane, meaning that there was no mental disorder or defect that prevented her from knowing the nature and quality of her acts or the wrongfulness of them.
And would that opinion indicate that she is legally responsible for her acts?
Yes.
If the doctor knows the legal definition.
You
You can ask those officers.
Yes, sir.
You had previously had contact with this woman, had you not?
Yes, sir, I had.
And could you tell the jury about that, and what the purpose of that previous contact was, and what the results of the previous contact?
First time I saw her was
That's crazy.
September the 19th, 1981. At that time, I was
never watched
appointed
that.
by the court to perform a psychiatric evaluation, essentially determining if she was competent to stand trial and if she was legally sane at the time of the alleged crime. In my opinion, she was competent at that time, as well as sane at the time of the alleged crime.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
James Wire?
How are you, Dr. Bernard?
Fine.
A psychologist is a qualified mental health professional in your view.
Yes.
Is that correct? In fact, you know Dr. McMahon. Do you have any questions about her qualifications?
No,
Have you worked with her in the past?
I have.
Have you reviewed, have you talked to her about the results of her testing in this case?
Yeah, I did.
Have you relied on the results of testing that she has provided in this case and others
Yes.
in formulating an opinion?
Yes.
Psychiatrists are not licensed to provide psychological and neuropsychological testing, is that correct? In general, as a general matter.
As a general rule.
And when a psychiatrist needs the benefit of neuropsychological or psychological testing, they would refer someone to a psychologist.
Again, it's a general rule.
As a general rule.
Yeah.
It's sort of two, both are mental health practitioners and both come, as you indicated, from a different perspective, but towards the same area, towards mental health.
Right.
You were at, by the way, did you have any questions about Dr. McMahon's diagnosis in this case?
I agreed with her diagnosis, but I had another one also that went with.
Okay, let's talk about the one you agreed with her on. You agreed with Dr. McMahon that Lee Wuornos suffers from a borderline personality disorder, is that correct?
Right.
And in reaching that conclusion, you agreed with Dr. McMahon based on your knowledge of Ms. Wuornos' background, her history, who she is, and what the testing reflected, all of the facts that you had.
Yes.
And you indicated that you received, I guess, a stack of material from both the defense and the prosecution in the case.
Right.
A borderline personality disorder is an identity. Part of what that is an identity disturbance. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw evidence of that in Ms. Wuornos' case.
Yes.
In Ms. Wuornos' case, did you also see an identity disturbance that is pervasive in her history?
Yes.
You also saw affective instability in her case, did you not?
Right.
What is that? What is affective instability?
Basically, it means they have difficulty controlling their emotions and that they may go from one kind of feeling or affect rapidly to another.
In fact, she is impulsive. You saw that during your review of records and your interaction with her.
Yes.
And did you reach an opinion as to whether she has deficiencies in judgment?
She did.
Did you reach an opinion as to whether she has deficiencies in insight?
She does.
Did you reach an opinion as to whether her history, her familial, developmental, environmental background is consistent with that of people who suffer from borderline personality disorders?
I don't think that you can necessarily say that there's one kind of background,
Okay.
but it's not inconsistent.
Okay. Did you perceive evidence in dealing with her of a history of involving suicide, suicidal gestures?
Yes.
And in dealing with her, did you observe problems in affect?
Problems in affect, meaning her ability to handle anger too well?
Yeah, control of her mood.
Yes.
one of the criteria which the DSM-3R relates to, speaks to when dealing with a borderline personality disorder is a frantic effort to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Is that something that's consistent with people who suffer from that disorder?
It's found in many of them. It's not necessarily always there, but it's a frequent kind of dynamic that's found.
And the opinion that you reached that Ms. Wuornos suffers from a borderline personality disorder was reached to a reasonable degree of psychiatric certainty, was it not?
Yes.
You didn't simply say, well, Betty McMahon said it, so I agree. That is your independent opinion.
Yes.
In addition, did you consider the testing provided by Dr. McMahon, and I think it was Dr. Berdini, as to organicity and the issue of cerebral or cortical impairment in Ms. Wuornos' case? Did you, during your evaluation, find any reason to disagree with that?
No.
And she did show some impairments?
Some mild, minimal impairment, yes.
Some mild what?
Or minimal impairment.
You spoke a little bit on direct examination of Ms. Wuornos' military history, the area of military history. Did she make it to the military?
No.
Why not?
She said she failed some of the tests.
The prior case that Mr. Tanner spoke to you about, the prior robbery involving Ms. Wuornos, you prepared a report in that case.
Yes.
And in that report, you included a discussion regarding your evaluation.
Yes.
You said in your report, she and her boyfriend had an argument the day before the alleged crime, and on the day of the alleged crime, she woke up and still felt angry at him and felt he might be like other guys and would take advantage of her. Is that consistent with what you said? Is that what you said in the report?
Basically, yes.
You also said that she bought a 6-pack of beer. She rode around thinking that she might shoot herself. Is that one of the suicide attempts that we were talking about, or suicidal thoughts that we were speaking about?
That was not one of the actual attempts. She had some suicidal thoughts in it, but she did not make an overt behavioral attempt.
Okay, there was another time that you're aware of where she made an actual attempt.
Yes.
And that's when she shot herself in the stomach.
Yes.
In addition, in the report, you indicated she continued, but then she had thought of what she would do if she continued to drink and ride around. She had thoughts of calling her boyfriend, but then had the thought of what he would do if she robbed a store. She thought if he got her out, it would prove that he loved her, whereas if he did not, it would prove that he did not love her, and she would kill herself then. She said she did not think of a prison term because she was too drunk at the time, and all she cared about was finding out if her boyfriend loved her. You prepared this report in 1981,
right,
did you not, at the time of the prior evaluation? And this was the report regarding your opinions as to the other offense,
right,
not a recent report regarding that offense.
Right.
You indicated in the report you also had a section as to her history. And the section as to her history that you included in that report was back then, before anybody heard of Mr. Mallory. Is that correct?
Yes.
You wrote all this in 81. And in 81, you indicated that she got along with her adopted mother, but did not like her adopted father, who she thought as being cruel, and sometimes when he was drunk, he hit her with a belt. Do you recall that?
Yes.
That was back in 1981.
Right.
Ms. Wuornos told you these same things in the current evaluation.
Right.
And what she told you about her family history is consistent now as it was when you saw her in 1981. As to her views of her mother and father and grandmother and grandfather, I guess.
Basically, right. Mm-hmm.
You also indicated in the report, you made reference to her shooting herself in the abdomen and being put in the Halifax hospital. She said she had been raped and beaten up to 10 or 12 times as she hitchhiked about the country and was unconscious once for about 10 minutes after she fell while drunk. That was also in 1981, before anybody heard of Mr. Mallory.
Right.
She has made 6 suicide attempts between ages, I can't read the first one, can you?
14 and 22.
14 and 22, but then went on to say that all of these were not attempts to take her life. She began the use of alcohol at age 12 and used it on a regular basis by age 17. You also indicated that in 1981.
Yes.
You also indicated in that report that she had deficits in recent and remote memory in the 1981 report.
Mild deficits.
Mild deficits. in the 1981 report, you did not provide a diagnosis. You did not write one out.
Right.
Is there anything that you saw when evaluating Ms. Wuornos in 1981, if you could sort of just go back in time with me, which would be inconsistent with a diagnosis of a borderline personality disorder?
No.
Okay, so she had it in 1981 when you saw her.
If I'm saying she had it now, she had it in 1981.
Okay. You talked in your report about, well, Mr. Tanner asked you questions about the question of sanity. The borderline personality disorder and the other impairments that Ms. Wuornos has, those things were with her when she was with Mr. Mallory, were they not?
Right.
You also talked a little bit with Mr. Tanner about the question of competency. Does the question of competency relate to what happened at the time of the offense? Can somebody, in other words, be competent, nevertheless suffer from some impairment at the time of the offense?
Definitely, you can. It's, you do not have to have incompetency because someone has a mental disease or defect.
Okay, competency has to do with whether somebody can stand trial with an attorney there with them, and so on and so on.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Burrows.
Doctor, just one or two other questions. Aileen Wuornos told you that she was drunk or drinking when she committed that robbery back in '81, in fact.
Yes.
And
It was a mixture of alcohol and equilibrium, I believe she said.
like pills and,
Yes.
and alcohol. Were you aware of the pre-sentence investigation report that the victim said she didn't appear to be intoxicated at all?
No.
With regard to the other diagnosis, you said that she does have borderline personality disorder.
Yes.
What is the other diagnosis? The competency.
The other diagnosis is an antisocial personality disorder.
And Aileen Wuornos is suffering from an antisocial personality disorder, correct?
Yes.
In layman's terms, what does that mean?
Basically, what it says is that these people have difficulty with moral values. They have trouble controlling their impulses and oftentimes do things that are against society, against the moral values, at times breaking law. That they lack the degree of conscience that many people have who do not have this disorder.
With regard to Aileen Wuornos and the crime of committing Richard Mallory, in your medical opinion, was it committed while she was under the influence of an extreme mental or emotional disturbance?
No.
And with regard to the killing of Richard Mallory by Aileen Wuornos, did she have the capacity to appreciate the criminality of her conduct?
She did.
And did she have the capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
She did.
And her personality, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder did not impair her to take away those abilities, did it?
Not to an extreme or a significant degree.
Okay. No further questions, John. Thank you.
Doctor, just to clarify, in your report, you indicated that
the way the prosecutor's handling this one, I bet that he wanted this one, and where he was, so aggressive with the last one, it seems like that one might have been one from the defense for Aileen, but yeah.
Aileen Wuornos did have an emotional and/or mental disturbance at the time of the offense.
She did.
And in your report, you indicated that Aileen Wuornos did have an impaired capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law at the time of the offense.
Yes, she did.
And in your report, you did indicate that Aileen Wuornos at the time of the offense had an impaired capacity to appreciate the criminality of her conduct.
No, not that one.
Not that one?
No.
Okay, the other two you did.
Other two I did, and what I did here was to basically say that he did not reach this to the statutory degree, but I took out the adjective so that it could be considered for non-statutory mitigating circumstances.
Okay, so you're saying that she had an impairment to conform her conduct to the requirements of law, but not a substantial impairment.
That's right.
So it's a non-statutory mitigating circumstance.
Yes.
You're saying that she had an emotional or mental disturbance, but not an extreme one.
Right.
So that too is a non-statutory mitigating circumstance.
Right.
In your view, those disturbances and impairments were with her at the time of the offense.
They were.
And they mitigated in this case.
Non-statutorily.
Non-statutorily. Is there an interplay between a borderline personality disorder and an antisocial personality disorder?
Personality disorders, I think, in general, have a lot of overlaps, but you're not going to find some that are pure, and you're going to find some overlap between different ones. And specifically in these two, there's overlap between.
If you have a person with a borderline personality disorder and all the tension, the anxiety, the inability to cope that comes with that disorder, is that something that could affect a person in such a way that they commit antisocial acts? So that they would meet the criteria for an antisocial personality disorder?
You could, but I think that if you look at the longitudinal history of the defendant, what you see is that her behavioral problems in an antisocial way began, during her teenage years and have continued across the time.
And so did her borderline personality disorder. That also is something that was with her in childhood.
Right.
Under the DSM-3 criteria, the following description is given as to antisocial personality disorder. Frequently, there are signs of personal distress, including complaints of tension, inability to tolerate boredom, depression, and the conviction, often correct, that others are hostile toward them. Is that something that's consistent with people with an antisocial personality disorder?
Not necessarily, but it is not inconsistent with.
Okay, that's one of the criteria provided as to things to look for in those individuals.
Yes.
As to either of these disorders, a borderline personality disorder or an antisocial personality disorder, it is not something that someone chooses as a child, is it?
No.
So someone doesn't wake up one morning and say, I want to have this disorder when I grow up.
I don't think that they choose to have the disorder. What they may choose is some of the decisions about what I should do behaviorally, and that this behavior then can escalate or get sufficient kind of reinforcement so that it becomes more and more ingrained so that they don't have to do as much choosing.
This guy reminds me of an actor, but I can't remember the guy.
It becomes easier for them to carry out some,
trying to think of
the
something
antisocial behaviors.
That's a person who is borderline and has problems may drink, for example, to deal with those problems. That reinforces the behavior, that kind of thing.
Yes.
In terms of either disorder or both, they're both listed in the DSM-3R.
Right.
And this book is a book that pertains to disturbances and disorders.
Right.
There's no category in here, normal people.
There's a category of no mental illness.
Okay, there's a category of no mental illness, but the rest of the specific disorders listed are all people who are disturbed.
Right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Ms. Barr,
Just ask for clarity, Doctor. Aileen Wuornos did not meet either of the statutory mitigators in regard to mental health, did she?
Asked and answered. Objection, Your Honor.
overruled.
She didn't meet either one of those two, did she?
No.
The only one that your testimony...
Objection to that construction, Your Honor.
Let me finish the question.
No further questions.
Any further?
He just said, fuck it. What the hell? And now he's going to get back up, really, after that? Oh, my God.
She had a mental or emotional disturbance at the time of the offense.
Ask and answer.
Yes.
She had an impaired capacity to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law at the time of the offense. She had the cerebral dysfunction that's reflected by the neuropsychological testing at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had the borderline personality disorder at the time of the offense. She had her history that, and whatever one carries with them based on a dysfunctional family at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had her history of alcohol abuse at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had her inability to cope that she's reflected throughout her life at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had her lack of judgment at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had her lack of insight at the time of the offense.
Yes.
She had her emotional lability, her emotional problems at the time of the offense.
Yes.
And she had her impulsiveness at the time of the offense. And she had the various deficits she...
Yeah, Bassett, Bassett Page, I did like your idea that you were putting in the Discord murder church hashtag or whatever these are called. Talking about a pro-C trial, somebody that represented themselves. That'd be it'd be something different, and yeah, I think it'd be fun. I think it's a cool idea. We got to figure that out. Maybe get a bunch and then maybe vote on those.
suffers from that are either genetic and or environmental in nature at the time of the offense.
She did.
And you have testified previously as an expert in criminal proceedings in capital cases.
Yes.
All of these things are non-statutory mitigating factors, is that correct?
Yes.
All 12?
My understanding that the jury can consider the statutory as well as non-statutory circumstances.
And in your view, from a mental health perspective, all of those things mitigate in the sense that they describe the mental state of the person at the time of the offense.
Now, I would object, Your Honor. The doctor doesn't decide what mitigates, the jury decides.
You withdraw the question.
Withdraw the question. Thank you, Dr. Goodwin.
And Dr. Bernard, she had the intent to shoot Richard Mowry to death when she shot him, didn't she?
She did.
No further questions.
All right. Yeah, we have a little bit more to go. I'm going to try to finish this next weekend, or next Sunday. We got I'd say about 2.5 to 3 hours to go. I think that sounds like a classic Sunday to me. May even try to start that one at 9 a.m. next week to try to get a jump on that. So yeah, we're gonna at least keep an eye on everything. But that's what I'm gonna plan for. That's what we're gonna try to do. Get her Dunsky. But yeah, I like that idea, Bassett. I think that would be fun. I think that'd be a good one. Something different. And again, Daryl Brooks in general makes me very angry. So I'm not sure. I have one of my oldest videos on this channel. If you go to the video section and actually just put in popular, if you can kind of filter them, you'll find it pretty quick. It's got 5K views, but it's yeah. I do not like Daryl Brooks. Yeah, let's watch this Vince McMahon video that Jason is talking about here. Thanks, Simi, for finding the link. Yeah, it's 3 minutes. WWE's Vince McMahon wrecks Bentley going 115 miles per hour. We got the body cam here. This entitled billionaire. Let's see how he gets treated here by the police. Hold on, let me take this off. Boom. 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 Make sure you come through tonight if you want to hang out. This stream will actually take you into, this is perfect actually, tonight at 6 Eastern on Wrestle Plunge and on Twitch live, watching Southeastern Championship Wrestling from 1981. This will be the 3rd episode. These are super fun. This stream will take you directly into that stream. So if you get there, even if you're not going to come back through tonight, please hit the like. I'd appreciate it. Of course, I'll be back Tuesday. We'll watch some kind of something. We'll watch, I don't know. Last week I was looking at the Nancy Guthrie case. We'll see. Maybe we'll look at a little bit deeper at that. I don't know. Keep your eyes peeled. And of course, book club, members only, Mindhunter, Tuesday night.
Over 100 miles an hour. It's my granddaughter's birthday.
Jesus.
It's my granddaughter's birthday.
My granddaughter's birthday. Damn, yeah, dude. Hit that car and then slammed into the fucking... Damn, lucky he's not dead going that fucking fast. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna block out the music just in case it's copyrighted. And then just, yeah, it goes off the road. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't trust
Ambulance?
that.
No, I don't. All right. Why were you driving over 100 miles an hour? It's my granddaughter's birthday. I got to get this the next exit. Right. Did you see me trying to catch up to you behind you? I didn't see that. I saw lights, but it didn't look normal. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up to you, and you keep taking off. Oh, no. I'm not taking. I'm trying to outrun you. I know. I understand that, but that's why I was very confused. All right? Because it wasn't like you were running. It was just like you almost hit, I think, 115 miles an hour. All right, and then you just hit someone because you weren't paying attention. Were you looking at your phone? No, trying to drive. No, I'm not looking at my phone. The person was right in front of you.
No! Trying to drive.
There's no reason you hit him. No, I haven't been driving my car in God knows how long. All right. It was right in front of you. You went straight at it at 100 miles an hour.
He's lucky he didn't kill somebody
sure
himself.
Not in a medical condition or anything? Do you need an ambulance? No. All right. Just your registration. Is your license in here? No, it's in my pocket. All right.
The airbag came out. Jesus.
I've been driven this
mad
car
at himself.
quite some time. It's fast, I'll tell you that. Yeah, too fast.
Got too much money for his own good here.
Thank you.
I almost got a shot of his driver's license. Yeah, I'm waiting for the cop to say knows him or something. There's a lot of cops showing up. Somebody's going to notice. See him the cop back?
I'm the investigating trooper, okay? So, how you doing? I know who you are.
I know who you are.
So, Trooper Robbins that was following in the
This first question. So, when you got stone cold stunned in 1998, tell me about how that felt. It's like
unmarked vehicle, said you were doing over 100 miles an hour. All right, before you struck the vehicle. So,
I need to take this. Excuse me. This is an important business guy. He did. He took the call.
All right, so I'm going to be issuing you
they told him to fuck
misdemeanor summons for reckless driving, okay? So it's just going to take me about 10 minutes to write it up.
Wow, so lucky.
I'll give you a court date, probably within 3 weeks or a month. Do you reside in Connecticut? I'm not sure. Okay, so it'll be, where are we? Westport? Yeah. Right, so it'll be the court right here.
Oh my God. Vince McMahon. I know a lot of people probably are aware of a lot of the accusations that came out. The victim of that, Janelle Grant, I believe her name is, came out publicly for the first time since that came to light in the last few years. Friday, and made some public statements, and it's been interesting to watch the wrestling community take sides on that, if I'm going to be honest. It's interesting. Well, either way, come through tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He probably was calling Triple H or Stephanie's like, yeah, guys, I'm going to need a little help here. Too much money for his own good at this time. He's got a lot of fucking money now. And he's getting old, though. I mean, what is he, 82, 83 years old? I don't know. Vince McMahon is a wild person. One of the craziest humans to ever walk this earth. I know that much. Come through tonight. We're going to be watching some wrestling. We're going to be hanging out. We're going back to 1981. We've been time traveling there on Sunday nights. And we're having a good time. It's fun. It's fun to look at the crowd. It's fun to look at the way the people dressed. It's fun to look at the hairdos. But also the action is interesting because it's completely different than the way that they have wrestled basically for the last 30 years. It's kind of morphing into that, but we're not quite there just yet. And come through. If you do end up there coming out of this stream, I would appreciate it if you had a like. Thank you very much. If you're wondering, if you check this out and wondering how people got on the secret will, the t-shirt will, it's by going to the channel you're about to go to right now, Wrestle Plunge, and they will help me out with new content. But I go live every weekend, multiple times on all channels. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and let's go.